Welcome to Big Blend Radio with your hosts, Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazine.com.
Welcome to Big Blend Radio with Nancy and Lisa, the Big Blend mother-daughter travel team and publishers of Big Blend magazines. On today's show, we're very excited to have award-winning author Andrea-Thome joining us today to talk about her third and newest novel, House of Belonging. I sat down with it. I went like one afternoon, and then all of a sudden the sun was coming up the next morning. It's one of those books. And so I'm just saying, everybody, once you pick this up, get your cocoa or your wine. You may want wine like I started with, and you're going to be in for a night of reading. It really takes you to the Rocky Mountains. There's steamy romance, and I mean steamy. And and it travels around a little bit too. There is big drama and family drama and a lot of suspense, and like you never know where it's going to take you next. But relationships, people is the key playing point of this, and of course, again, set in the Rockies and Aspen, like you can beat that. So I want you to go to Andrea's website. It's Andrea-Thome, and that's Thome, so AndreaThome.com. Of course, her book's on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all those places, but go to her website. She's got an awesome blog. You can look at her photography, all that good stuff. So welcome, Andrea. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. Gosh, what a nice intro. Thanks, Lisa. Thanks for having me, and thanks, Nancy. I'm so excited. I mean, a mother-daughter team, what's better than that? I'm excited to talk with you all.
We are too. I mean, it's like, yeah, and I think, well, it's interesting because there's like a son and a mother that have a problem in your book.
Yes, right. Well, I think relationships are, and particularly among family, are interesting things, aren't they?
Oh my gosh. And you covered all like types of it. And then of course there's mother-daughter in there as well. That's really cool. And I think the key of your story is that you really understand people, and that's exciting. And I have to say, whenever someone from a broadcasting background comes on our show, I'm like, uh-oh. You always get that little nervousness, like, oh, but this is interesting. I was talking to Nancy because, reading your book, I'm like, you get people, you understand, you're like I feel like you should go to England with the stories and, have TV shows with this because, England does really good TV character movies, right? And that's your book is you're soaked in these characters and you're in it immediately, and you're into all the characters, of course, the main ones too. But do you think, like, looking at your career in broadcasting, going from that writing and photography, that you really are a storyteller? It doesn't really matter where you go with it and what avenue.
I think I grew up, I was kind of thinking about this, like why I enjoy this so much now. But I grew up as a kid. We moved a lot when I was young. My dad had a job that took us around a bit, and then until he finally opened his own business in Ohio. And so every time you move when you're a little kid, you have to be able to put yourself out there and tell people your story and then ask them their story. And I think that's kind of maybe the genesis of my interviewing skills was I had to find out about people, and I knew a lot. So, I guess I just, from a young age, I enjoyed that. And then when I majored in journalism and, I loved working in TV back then, but I don't know, I really am enjoying this whole new career that I've created for myself. I let my kids get to the age where they're in school full time. And, I knew I could really devote all of my time to this while they're in school. And it's just been a blast. I've loved it.
Well, you definitely know people, and that's what I'm saying. You're very observant, and your photography, which graces all your book covers as well, which is beautiful. And I was so excited because I know the Smoky Mountains and Rocky Mountains. I'm like, okay, she's like us. She's our type of girl here.
Yeah.
But you do get steamy. But just saying, she knows how to write the steamy stuff. I'm just saying.
Well, and I was really, I'm careful because I do think you can write steamy and sexy and still I really do try to keep it classy. It's not,
it is. Yeah,
it's not, I don't, and there's a place for the traditional bodice ripper or even beyond that. Everybody's got their thing, but I just think that in a love story, that is part of any good love story is the physicality of it. And I try to paint it in a way that's kind of, that might want you to reach over and grab a sip of that wine. But then it also helps.
I remember when I had that.
Right. That it maybe takes you back to it, makes you blush a little. Blushing is good for the circulation.
I just have to say, you said bodice ripper, and that is kind of a term I've used for years, judging books by the cover, which I know you're not supposed to do it, but you do.
We all do.
I pick up her books just from her cover.
Yeah, see, and then there's
but it's
always,
no bodice ripper. It's beautiful
but,
nature.
No, but the real bodice ripper novel always has the man and the woman on the cover, and the blouse is halfway torn.
Sure.
And you either see almost the bra or not most times.
No.
And it is like, here's my bodice.
Yeah.
You know?
I want people to pick up my books, and I took the pictures for the covers of all 3 of my books, but I'm a big believer in destiny. If someone's supposed to pick up my work and read it, they're going to find their way to it. So I wanted them to, like when I go to the bookstore, I am very visual, and if I see a cover that I'm like, wow, that's beautiful, I'll pick it up and read the back, and so that shows you how important, the cover is. But I would hope that, the cover will bring you in, but the story is what will grab you and hook you. So that's kind of where
Well, I just haven't heard anybody use that term forever.
I guess I must have a little old-fashioned in me. I do.
No,
I've heard somebody said that to me, and I thought that's perfect.
To divide books up.
Well, reading House of Belonging, there is some really good old school values instilled through there of what it's supposed to be, what relationships are supposed to be, the communication, the values of family. And I mean, like value. And I mean, like, this is where, there's all kinds of family drama. There's all kinds of stuff going on. Mm-hmm. But that core line of people wanting it to be happy on your group of friends, happy of visitors coming to a restaurant, happy just in your love relationships, on working relationships. There's this thread, like it's almost like a bloodline. Maybe it's the river, right? Of everybody's supposed to be happy together and will stand up for each other. And obviously in the book that happens. I
like the idea of no matter, and there's a character or two in this book that aren't particularly appealing as a person, but I feel like, and I believe this in my life, that everybody is including the worst people. Everyone has a redeeming quality, or 2 or 3 or 10. It's a matter of putting yourself in the situation to try to either get that out of the other person or to present that yourself if you're the person struggling. I don't know. I just think I want the world to be a better place. I'm a little kumbaya. I want everybody to get along. And so maybe I'm just trying to put something out into the world that maybe encourages that. I'm trying anyway.
We need it because I have to tell you, we read so much heavy stuff, and we cover all kinds of topics. We're the blend because Viva Variety, baby. Like our whole goal is to remind people that we're not just Google AdWords that is targeted just for this one thing. Everyone should be reading something that they never thought they were going to read.
Agreed.
Going somewhere they never thought they'd go.
Exactly. And that's why we do variety, because we want you to be, hey, there's a flower on the front cover. Oh, I'm into gardening. And then turn the page and it's like, hey, we're going to Colorado. So that's what we're a sneak attack on readers. Sorry. But it's been working for a while. And it's true. And it's, I think that's the thing, the beauty of your book. I was like, oh, Rocky Mountains, Smoky Mountains. And I looked at the cover, which I know that the front cover of House of Belonging, isn't that in Tennessee?
It is, and it's sort of like one of those little secret Easter egg things. For myself, I wanted it to be the bookend in the series. The series began in Tennessee, and I think ultimately, even though it doesn't physically end in Tennessee, the soul of it sort of does. All of these people and this family, and if you read the first 2, my first book was Walland, and then the second book is Seeds of Intention, and then House of Belonging was the third and final. It's the overarching theme is finding your place in the world in the family that you sort of create for yourself, kind of blended with the family that you're born into. And so I just wanted it to kind of come full circle. And if you didn't know looking at that, if you didn't know that photograph was in Tennessee, it could be anywhere. I liked the simplicity of how it looked all together.
Where was let's talk about the series. And it's Hesse Creek or Hesse Creek? I want to make sure.
Yeah, it's pronounced Hesse Creek. Yeah, and that's the creek that runs through the back of Walland through the resort.
Okay, so where did this all start? And then we'll get into the House of Belonging, but we can't have any spoilers because
Oh no, I won't spoil.
no
So
spoiling allowed.
perfect. I
It's
know
just like
that's the
wine.
word.
No
I
spoilers
believe
of the
me.
wine.
Agreed. Well, so Hesse-Creek started. I started writing, and it's interesting to talk to the two of you as a mother-daughter team. My mom was also a writer, and she was a poet. And she published a book of poetry 20 years ago now. And I lost my mom at the end of 2014. And when she passed away, it really rocked my world. She was my best friend and my girl Friday and my everything. And so, sort of as an homage to her and her writing and her life, and it was a passion we shared. And a cathartic way to kind of work through my grief, I just sat down, and I'd always wanted to write a book. So I just opened up my laptop and thought, let me try and see what happens. And it poured out. I had no outline. I had no idea of what I was writing about, but a love story came out. And I really, truly think it's because I was trying, and maybe she was helping me come out of a place of darkness and just try to put something positive and happy into the world. And Wallen just was born that way. So kind of 3 months and fast and furious writing 8-9 hours a day, that was born. And then once once I finished that one, I didn't know it was going to be a series. I had started something completely new, and my girlfriends who I let read it, like preview it, said, well, wait a minute, you need to write another book about these people. We're not done with them yet. And so I thought, well, let me push this aside that I'm working on and see if anything comes. And it was like turning the faucet back on. Seeds of Intention was very easy to write. And about halfway through that, I knew House of Belonging would be the third and final. I knew I could kind of bring it all home with that one.
But you really do, because even the names, like the House of Belonging, there's like so many references. It's like you created this amazing spider's web of things. Like if you bring it all home, I like, we always talk about that as writers, as being the spiders, weaving that web. And there's so many little intricacies. And that's what I thought about. What was so fascinating about you being a photographer too, is that you have this crazy skill of observance, like, not just in people, but you're observing. And I think when you are in the career that you've been in broadcasting news and in journalism, we learn how to do things and how to read people and read things. But there's something in photography that teaches you the smallest fine points of like nature in places that when you go through that viewfinder. Do you find that for you? Because that's where I feel like you're just one crazy observant lady, crazy and good, crazy good.
Oh, that's so nice of you to say. I just think, it's interesting. Everybody can be looking at the same thing, but it's all in the perspective. When you look through that lens of the camera, everybody sees it differently because of where you're standing, how you frame it, what you center in the picture. It's you can be looking at the same thing and see a million different results when it's printed on on photo paper. It's really cool, I think. So it is such an individual expression of art.
When people look at a painting or a photograph, everybody feels something different based on, I don't want to use the word their baggage because I don't like that. It sounds negative. Their experience of who they are and how they got to be who they are. And then they color that picture in their own light. And it's the same with books. It's the same with photography. People see things based on their past.
Well, I 100% agree with that. And I feel like with my husband's career, he played baseball and we traveled around all over the place. And we've been really, blessed and fortunate to be able to do that. These places are places that I've been in Colorado several times and also in Tennessee. And I love them and resonate with these places so much that I want to share them. And it's like I really wanted, when I describe them, I want the reader who can't maybe go to Blackberry Farm in Tennessee to be able to open the book and feel like they experienced it a little bit,
Yeah, that is key. That is the coolest thing, because I think none of us can get to every place we want to go, but for anyone that can take you there, it's like, thank God for webcams in Africa. It's like, I want to go home, but I get to see that. I go, and I think, it's neat. Like, we've been up to Aspen many, many years ago, and a friend of ours, her son just got married out there, and it was just like, looking at her photos from the wedding and reading your book, it all happened at the same time. It was kind of crazy. Like, I'm looking at this going, well, look. This could be the same place. It's like,
holy
is
cow,
it the
what a coincidence,
Maroon
right?
Bells? Was it Maroon Bells or something? Maroon Bells, I think it was. I'm
Yes.
getting them. Yeah, just so beautiful. And I remember that area going like I could live there
Oh,
very, very
beautiful.
easily. But let's go to House of Belonging.
Sure.
Because this is another thing that I thought was really neat about your character, Lena Ming, and she's a chef. And here we go into the world of Top Chef, basically. Here she goes from New York all the way from the East Coast to I'm going to go to Colorado, but I'm going to do a restaurant that is going to be creative and open to chefs coming in and out. Like this whole concept, I'm like, dude, this is so cool. And one of her dinners, just going back to what you said about your mom, where she was like putting haikus with each meal.
Yes.
And I was like, I want to go to the restaurant. Can you go open the restaurant now?
I know. Honestly, well,
Seriously.
I was completely inspired. I happened across this documentary, Chef's Table on Netflix, and one of the episodes was about Dominique Crenn. So I don't know how familiar you are with her, but she's a chef up in the San Francisco area, and she's French, and she is a total girl boss. And I was just so inspired by her and her story, and just watching her, I found myself fascinated by the way she was touching the food in the documentary with such reverence. And I mean, really, truly, I think the great chefs are artists. It's just a different, it's their paint. Do you know what I mean? And I think chefs are so giving, and they will give you everything of themselves. The chefs that we've had the pleasure of meeting, we know very casually here in Chicago, Graham Elliott, and he is such a generous soul and so wanting to share, his creations. I love that about chefs. And so it's just another art form that I thought she inspired me. And I had Lena Ming's a character that actually was very, very, very briefly made an appearance in Walland, a couple of pages. And I didn't really think I was going to have the time to tell her story later. But when I saw this documentary, I thought, it's Lena's story. And so then I knew I was in the middle of Seeds of Intention, and that's when it dawned on me how House of Belonging was going to tie it all together.
Okay, this is wild because it's almost like
like you're
you're channeling these characters,
like they're real,
like they're
people.
knocking on your door saying, "Hey, I'm here. Like, let me out. I'm bringing my knives and I'm going to Roaring Fork River.
Honestly,
and I'm opening a restaurant. Let me have it."
It is pretty cool when this stuff starts to happen in these little, serendipitous things that go on when you're writing. It's like, oh my gosh, like she was just there waiting all the time, and I didn't know. And then she just was like, hello, here I am. You created me, and I'm ready to go. So it was really cool when that happened.
It is like a birthing experience.
I like this because you get to go off in a different world, and then your readers get to go off in a different world. I mean, it's like a whole, it's like a new TV station.
Well, that's so kind of you. I absolutely have loved doing this. And it's funny because there's a character in House of Belonging, and since you've read it, you'll be able to guess, but I don't want to spoil. But that character, I was going to completely start something completely brand new, and this new series is. But this character in House of Belonging I became so attached that character is the springboard for this whole new series. I just couldn't tear myself away. And this new series, I'm really excited about. It's set in the Pacific Northwest, and it's about a family of brewers. And I'm kind of immersing myself. And there's something about family business to me. I think there's so much you can mine. Oh, you do. I know you. Yeah, I'm giving you clues, but without saying.
Because when reading this, I'm like, dude, he needs something because he is such a strong character. You've got Lena, the chef, lady.
Right.
Then you've got hot Logan Matthews, right? The horse rancher dude, and he is like you want to hang out with him. He's one of those people. Whenever you go on a hike or a horseback ride, you want him there because he's like the MacGyver. He's like anything that goes down, he can handle. He's the man.
But he's an old soul too. He's not a one-dimensional sort of guy, which I love about him.
Oh, he's like I want to go. Like they all went on a camping trip, and I'm like, I want to go there. You have a chef cooking. I want to go hang out there and play over a pond and like, oh my gosh. And dude, you brought up so many themes. I mean, even whose land that was. There's so many.
Well, my dream trip. People always say, "What's your dream trip?" And I would love to. My dream is to have an Airstream trailer and to hitch it up to the back of a Suburban and just travel from one end of the country to the other. And when I get to the end, turn around and go back through Canada. Like just do it, like just boots on the ground kind of travel. That's when you see stuff. I want to. When are we leaving?
Okay. Well, we're looking at it. We're looking at it because we don't do well sitting at home. You said you traveled or moved a lot as a kid.
Oh,
I went to 16 schools in 3 countries.
Oh my gosh.
And I was always the immigrant, look at her. Sometimes I was
but look how much you learned.
There's like crazy. And it was cool because I know exactly what you're talking about. Like you have to stand up, it's the first day of going to a new school and you're like, oh God, here we go. And then you go in and you're tough. And then there's this especially in the teens, there's the curiosity of like, who is she? And then all the women look at you, or girls are like, uh-oh. And then like it flips around. Like within a week, you're old news.
That's it. I always call it I told my daughter, you're the shiny penny in the beginning because she was a 9th grader last year. I said, you get to be the shiny penny because you're new. Yeah. I said, but you only get one chance to make a first impression. So you don't get a second
after
one.
That, you're done.
That's it.
That's it. You're done.
Old news in a week.
But it gives you a backbone. And people like, I know people are horrified that I went to so many schools. I'm like, dude, no, that's how I got my backbone. That's how I get out there and do things. I'm able to navigate in, I'm actually a very, very shy person.
As am I, believe it or not. I mean, I can hear, I think you and I are probably very kindred spirits.
Yeah. It's like, hey, and we're both blonde. There we go. And look at us, That's the thing. It's like we go into this, I think that's the beauty of it. And I think the beauty of writing, like what you're doing, is people have this opportunity to change. But I really love that you brought so many different elements that I think so many people are going to go, hey, that's me in the book. Like, that's me. That's my family over here. That's so-and-so. Because your characters are so strong. You're one of the rarities of people who really have a character so strong but keeps their integrity all the way through the end. I mean, that's it, because there's people that write, they'll start off the book. Nancy and I hate this. The book starts well, and then we go, okay, yes, bring them on a show. And then we go, uh-oh, we have to reverse this if we don't finish it.
It's after the 3rd chapter.
We have to finish. And we go like, really? The character started to lose its weight by the end, and which means your story's out the window.
Because I think
your story could suck, but you have to have your characters.
No, the thing is, by the 3rd chapter, at the end of the 3rd chapter, I think this is what publishing companies look for. They read the first 3 chapters. They never read the entire book. And so authors get that, and PR companies get that. And so the first 3 chapters are dynamite, and then it goes downhill.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny you say that, because I think the first 3 chapters for me are always the hardest, and I always feel like, they're not my. I feel personally like they're not my strongest. That I get better as I get into it because I get to know my characters better. I inhabit them a little more, and it's easier to write them. Where I'm just sort of like getting to know them in the beginning. So it's hard. I know there's people who are super strong at those first 3, and that's probably why they, have multi-book deals. Don't. Maybe I'm not good at that first pitch, but I want to take my time with it. I don't want to put all my bang out first,
Yeah, because then you got to have bigger bang and bigger bang and bigger
bang.
But then it becomes not believable.
You are so easy to read. Like, the book is so easy, and it's just like, uh-oh. And I think, like, I just was like, I remember sitting down with it, and I have to be honest, I'm not a huge romance novel person.
But you do like bodice ripping.
Oh, I like a little steaminess. Yeah. I do. I mean, you don't. And I forgot. Like, I was like, I forgot about that. It's good that.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because I don't know what it is, and I don't mean to be like a book snob or whatever, but sometimes I bristle at it being quantified as, or qualified rather, as romance.
Oh, I don't think it is. I don't think it's. You have a very strong love story, and there's a lot of. It's exactly it. When you fall in love, that's all you want, is that person in front of you. You don't care about anything else, even though you do. That is your thing there. Your body does it. You can't help it. You are in that zone, and we're
Chemistry.
all in that mode of like silliness. It's like, oh my gosh, and it's like we can't have enough of that. That is like it's like an addiction. Like when you get into that zone, and then it like still is there if it's the right match, and it grows from there into something completely stronger.
Yes.
But this is you had like some crazy stuff going on in this book that was like, there's drama, and when I say drama, people, I'm telling you, there's like everything in there. I
Well,
don't think you missed anything out. But give everybody an overview because we've talked around like in circles on it, and I want to make sure people gotta have an overview of it, and I don't want to spill the beans because like I want to talk about Van because I think he's hot.
oh, I know Van. He is. He's super hot. Well, so this is about Lena Meng. We mentioned her. She's a chef. And I think it's interesting. Her story is interesting because she sort of had it all. She's a top chef. She's been successful, opened amazing restaurants, Michelin star chef in New York City, but really hasn't been what it hasn't fulfilled her as a person. So she's kind of stripping it all down. She's moving to this small town. She's going to open a restaurant under her, with her terms only. And it's really not just for her, but it's a vehicle to share, to bring in other chefs. It gives her a little freedom too, because I think with a chef, it's like you really don't have a lot of, you can't close up shop and leave for a week and go on vacation. So she's looking for more freedom, creative outlet. And so that's what leads her out west. And then she's not at all thinking relationships. And then here's Logan, out of the blue, and his story is basically, starts to be told in my second book, but really kind of he comes into his own here in House of Belonging, and it's just the story of them meeting, and how sometimes when you find your other person, you can try to avoid it all you want, but if it's meant to be, it'll be. So it's their story, and and the characters. It's not just the two of them. There are other characters that are from the first books that come back. It can be completely read as a standalone, which you did, but it does help to have the context of the first two books when you're reading these other character stories as well, I think.
Because you want to know everybody. It almost feels like you've walked into this cool town and met these amazing people, and you want to sit down and have wine or a beer with them. Like you feel like, hey, I want in. I want in the circle of friends. They're like this warm group of people. Of course, there's some, lurkers out there that come in and infiltrate and do. Is that the wrong word?
No, some interlopers, yes.
Yeah, well, that interlopers are better. It's like, don't use infiltrate or collusion. Those are the two words.
Exactly.
None of that stuff's allowed.
Right.
But really, and there's always that drama, and I didn't expect that, and I think it's a very strong book of, honestly, of a woman coming to her own of strength,
and not having to choose between one thing or the other. I mean, you can have it all if you prioritize. And I don't know why we're ever made to make choices when we can just make room for everything.
That's right.
Well, because we're always told what to do. It's so funny. Do you think you would consider writing a historic novel?
Oh, I love historical fiction. I mean, so Diana Gabaldon is one of my, like the Outlander series, forget it. I've read it more than once. I think it's phenomenal. I would love it. It's intimidating to me because of the amount of research. But I would like to try that. And another thing I think I might want to try, and maybe it's because I have an almost 16-year-old daughter, but young adult is also very interesting to me. And I think you can do a lot of really cool stuff with that. And I would never want to be preachy or teachy or whatever, but there are some teachable moments in the young adult genre that I think have yet to be explored.
I think that you would be awesome with that because, like, even in House of Belonging, like I said, you have this value system that runs through of, good and bad. You have good and evil in there for sure, and yet not completely evil. There's like an understanding of why the evil is there, right? There's that, and I think because there's the lesson of forgiveness and going beyond. I mean, there's so many lessons in House of Belonging, which is what family teaches you. If anyone's going to teach you anything, more often than not, it's people's characters, what they do in their life, and in that circle that you're in, that family, whether it's blood or not.
Just remaining open, and I think forgiveness is a huge thing. I mean, it's amazing to me what people will hold on to and just poison themselves with instead of just moving on. Yeah, it's hard. It is hard.
But then once you do it, it's like, okay, it's like, here's the deal. This is how I look at it. It sounds terrible, but when something happens and now you've got this grudge on someone, then you're filling your bladder. And until you pee, that's a forgiveness. Oh, wow. That's just saying sorry, but it's true.
You know what? That's a great way to put it. You're right. You're drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die, right? Yeah, not good.
No, it should be a medical.
Well, no,
a medical drama.
And eventually, you become to this point, like if you can't go to the bathroom and you need to go wee wee, you're sitting there like, and then you get to and you're like, oh, I feel so much better. I should never have held that in for so long.
Yeah, that's it.
See?
It's not good for us.
Sorry, I know that's not that clean and sweet, but
I have to go back to that is exactly what history is built on. People who can move forward and people who can't.
Yeah.
And people who go backwards. Everybody takes things a different way. So when somebody reads your book, they're going to read it from their point of view.
True.
And color it with their point of view to a certain extent. However, I love this because there's always that open the mind moment in books and films and music where you have your own idea and then suddenly, somehow, the creative person who started the journey manages to crack that shield that you have and go, hey, did you ever think about this?
Well, yeah, just even about, in this book, and I won't spoil it, but, Vivian and Sienna's sort of experience. It's like maybe somebody who's reading it is seeing that, family's struggle for the first time and maybe will understand it differently. At least I hope so, because I feel like, we're all more similar than we are different, really, at the end of the day.
For sure.
Exactly.
That's so for sure.
That's exactly. So let's talk a little bit about what you do in the world of philanthropy. We got to talk about your husband, Jim Thome. Nancy and I know we talked a little bit beforehand, before our radio chat here. We have a lot to learn about American sports, but I do know baseball is about actually the only thing I understand when it comes to American sports. Football, no. You've got pads and butts and things. No, I don't understand what's going on, but they're chasing a ball. But baseball, I do understand. And your husband was at over 600.
612 home runs in his career. Yeah, he was just this last weekend inducted into the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. So we were in Cooperstown for that. It was beyond exciting. Something we've been, it's been on our radar for really, you have to wait 5 years after you retire. So he retired in 2012. And so this was his first year of eligibility. So when we found out in January that he had been inducted by the writers, it was just, it's the highest honor that he could have, achieved in his career. And it was thrilling for us to go and support him. His whole family from Peoria and my family and all of our friends from Chicago made the pilgrimage to Cooperstown. And it was really a special week.
Oh, that's awesome. And I was also reading he's also nominated, wasn't he one of the most friendliest people in baseball?
Yeah, he's won the Good Guy Award several times. And he also was, got the Roberto Clemente Award, which is an award that's given to philanthropic baseball players, because he's always been it's very important to him to give back in all the communities that we've lived. We've been really connected with organizations, and still are with most of the cities that he played in. We still are connected with those same organizations for the last 23 years that we've been working with. So
wow,
he's quite a guy.
Yeah, I want to talk about that as a family. You have children, and he's had this wild career, and so have you. Going from journalism, now I'm going to go into writing, and so this is a busy life. Where is it? Is it something that together when you first met and said, okay, we're going to have a family, we're going to give back? Where does the give back thing start?
I mean, for me, my mom, when I was, young, my mom volunteered with Make-A-Wish and would always take me along, and so I learned it from the ground up. And Jim's family too, they had a big benefit that they always did, and even as he played and got older for years for the Children's Hospital in Peoria, Illinois, where he's from. So we both have very strong sets of parents. We've lost Jim's mom and my mom now. We both still have our dads, but both of our parents were married for 48 years, when we lost our moms. And so we have a great example of what it takes to be a team, and, how to prioritize things in life. And philanthropy has always just been super important to us. And it's also, now that we have children, we have a daughter who's almost 16 and a son who's almost 11. And, just kind of teaching them too, the same thing. All of my book signings that I do, for example, I donate all of my proceeds from my book signings to charities in the cities where I'm holding them. So for example, Jim played in Cleveland. So we, for years, worked with a place called the Therapeutic Riding Center, Fieldstone Farm, and they help both adults and kids with, both mental and physical disabilities. And so I donate all my proceeds to them when I go back. Or my friend Jimmy Malone, who's a radio personality there, he works with kids and giving them scholarships for college, need-based scholarships. So there are a million worthy organizations, but we try to pick those that we know are going to give the most bang for our buck. It's not going to be administrative fees that are being paid. It's really going to the people that need it. And that is so fulfilling for me to be able to do now too.
Yeah, I think I think it's part of your makeup. And it's even interesting when you're most challenged in life, when you're like the most challenged, no matter how fearful you are of the challenge of what is happening in your life. I always find that no matter what, just turn it around by giving back in even a smile to somebody, right?
Yes.
It just returns back. And it's a hard thing sometimes when you're in the most challenged predicament, but I've learned that actually helps. Your attitude, who you are. It's like I think when you're doing work for others, whether it's animals, the environment, people, communities, money can't even touch it. It just doesn't.
Well, my granny always taught me you're only as strong as your weakest link.
And so true.
So, so if you're not really willing to help those who are not as strong as you may or may not be at the time that you help them, you will never, ever be strong.
It's the little things too. It doesn't take much. The other day we were driving back from our trip, and we were, we were in a rental car, so I didn't have my iPass, which what a pain. But anyway, so we had to go through each of the cash toll booth things, and so I pulled up, and the guy said, "Oh, a few cars up gave a $5 bill and said to pay for the next 5 cars." Well, I already had my $5 bill out, and so I handed it to the guy, and I said, "You know what? Then pay for the next 5." And he just threw his hand over his heart, like in such surprise. And I thought, we need more of that. Like, we need people to be delighted by the kindness of others.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's so true. I mean, it just, everybody has their bad days, and it's like you could change somebody right there, make them just feel like that little glimmer of hope, like, hey, it's not all bad, or whatever it is.
I told my husband, I said, that's a moment of, I feel like we're all in this together. Like, I want to feel like that more.
Me too.
The truth of the matter is we are all in this together.
We are. That's it.
Yeah.
We're one big connected family, as in House of Belonging will teach you that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I hope so. A little smidge anyway.
I think so. The one thing I was reading about that you do go around and do some speaking on community development. Can you tell us about that?
Oh, well, I mean, I'm doing a books and brunch coming up. Mostly the speaking I do is just about my writing experience, and then if I can throw a little light on my, philanthropic work and stuff, I certainly do. But yeah, I love doing that. I started writing because I thought, I can finally withdraw a little and have quiet time and hide behind my computer. Well, wrong. Who knew that this was going to force me to be more extroverted, which is something I'm not super comfortable with, but I'm getting better at it. And I, like my mom would say, don't hide your light under a bushel basket, go out and do what you can to make the world a better place. So I think from behind the scenes somewhere, she's given me a little nudge.
No, this is funny because broadcast journalism, right? So you're out there, out on the front lines, and then married to Jim, right? So doesn't that become like you're in the spotlight with the sports world? And how hard is that to keep it on a positive level? Because there's so much, there is drama in the sports world.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so to keep it on this like professionally clean, good integrity mode, and you're out there. I mean, people want to see their sports heroes. They want to see that, and now you're doing it with your book. So it's like it's nonstop. That's it. You're done.
I don't know why I keep trying to push the river. Yeah, I keep trying to push the river, and the river flows the way it wants to go. So I just have to jump in the canoe and go.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I love it though. Okay. So here's a final question.
Yeah.
And then Nancy has a tree exercise for you.
Cool.
We can't forget the tree exercise.
No, we won't.
Okay, so my question is, you're going to have a dinner party, and you can invite 3 guests to your dinner party, and the 3 guests are going to be your characters. So which 3 characters are coming? What is being served? And I mean, it's up to you if you need to have Van or Donovan, your sous chef,
Yep.
and or Lena's sous chef, or Lena in there cooking or not, or it could be somebody completely different and let them have a night off. But we want to know what's on the menu, which 3 characters, and why do you want to invite them? And you should have music in the background, and that's important. So
there's always music. Yeah, I write with music and everything. In fact, I have playlists for each of my 3 books that I put on my website. I'm actually just preparing to do the House of Belonging playlist. I haven't posted that yet, but I'm writing the blog as we speak. So
I want to know.
Yeah, I would say Van for sure is going to be at this dinner because I'm just getting to know him better, writing, Lena's cooking for sure because I would love, if you're asking what's on the menu, I think a beautiful plant-based meal as a little nod to my daughter who is a vegan. And I think she would make this time of year, everything in the garden. I was out picking cucumbers and a few early tomatoes this morning. So everything's so gorgeous and pregnant right now. So let's have a beautiful plant-based meal. And I think the third person, a character that I love that's been in all 3 of my books, is Finn. And he's an heirloom farmer. And I think there's just something interesting about him and his connection to the earth. And he's lived a lot of life, so he's got a lot of experience. And I think he'd be a good storyteller at the dinner.
He's cool. He's an old soul for sure.
Yeah, he's cool.
Yeah.
His love story is told in Walland. There's 2 love stories really in Walland, and his is one of them. And I just thought, and it's funny, we had lost my mom, like I said, and I think I was sort of subconsciously writing the story for my dad that I hoped he would have again one day. And he is now with someone who I think I said I couldn't have handpicked a better partner for him. And, when my mom was dying, she said, Jerry, I want you to find somebody perfect for you. And she gave him that permission. So I think I kind of Finn is a little bit of my dad, maybe.
Oh,
that's
wow.
awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
Twinkly eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. It gave me a little goosebumpy.
Yeah, no.
Oh, yay.
I know.
That's so cool.
Okay, what is the music in the background for this dinner?
The music has varied throughout this series, but during dinner, I do love a little, maybe just like an instrumental, like an Alison Krauss sort of a vibe. Alison Krauss, Nickel Creek, a little bit of a country-ish vibe, but then we mix in a little Jack Johnson, a little Jason Mraz. I just sort of like a chill vibe for dinner, I think.
Okay. Well, I think you may enjoy the song we've chosen for you tonight.
Oh, good.
It's called We Had to Meet.
Oh.
The whole album is from Peggy James, and she's based up in Milwaukee. It's her 4th album. And it's just such a very raw and real. Like, I don't say raw and as an unpolished and you have bad notes. I mean raw. It's like very honest, real, earthy. This is how I feel. It's like an album of relationships. And when we interviewed her last month or a couple months ago, I can't keep track of time. And everybody, if you go to blendradioandtv.com, just type in Peggy James, you'll hear it. We Had to Meet is the very first song on her album, which is called Nothing in Between. Oh. And this whole album, like, I was going through the songs, I'm like, well, there's parts of this that could go in your book. But We Had to Meet was the first thing. It's about, at the end of the day, you're going to meet no matter what. And I feel like that goes with your book, House of Belonging,
Well, I have to say, maybe I haven't put the playlist out yet because I'm supposed to add that song to it.
I'm going to send it to you. I'll send you the link. I will send you the link.
I love it.
But everyone, Peggy James, it's on the album Nothing in Between. It's out through Happy Growl Records. And this is the Happy Growl Records is because they have a big, I'm going to get the dog, it's either a pit bull or a bulldog. I'm going to get it wrong. That growls when she smiles. She's a happy dog. And anyway, so she's,
funny.
And the album is out on iTunes, Amazon, CD Baby, all that. But you can keep up with Peggy. Go to Facebook.com and type in Peggy James Musician. But we also want to thank the International Food, Wine, and Travel Writers Association for sponsoring today's segment. They're a global network of journalists who cover the hospitality and lifestyle fields and the people who promote them. So you can go to ifwtwa.org to keep up with them. And if I do not go to Nancy, see, Nancy's going to throw a glass across the room at me. No, she wants the tree exercise.
You promised the tree exercise.
I know.
I'm ready.
So, here's the tree exercise. You have to go outside, obviously, where there's trees, and you have to get down on your hands and knees.
That rhymes.
Right next to your favorite tree or a tree that you adore. And you have to put your right palm on the trunk of the tree, close your eyes, and wait till you can feel the heartbeat of that tree.
Oh, I love it.
Sometimes
consider it done. I'm going to get muddy, too, because it's been raining, but I don't even care because I'll just do some earthing.
That's awesome. Well, earth
eventually,
is good. Be barefoot and
you will feel the heartbeat of that tree.
You will. Meditate with the tree.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Yeah. Ladies, we should be friends.
We have to. Like, seriously, we have to connect. Like, at some point when we're all traveling around somewhere, when we come through the Midwest on our park tour, because we got to go to Pullman National Historic District, the historic site that you have there. We have to go there. So we'll let you know when we come up there. And we'll keep in connection on what you do in philanthropy as well. With projects we're involved with is the Community Alliance for Youth Success. It's a nationwide program. In fact, the second one, what it is, communities get together for youth first, putting youth first. And it's also connected with a program called the 8 Keys of Excellence. And we've done a number of shows over the years as they've built this over 5 years to how do we connect communities with the youth? How do we make the youth known that you are first? And they've done it in Oceanside, California. So the group involves Bobby DePorter, who is the head of Supercamp, which is the world's leader in summer academic achievement programs, and Stedman Graham, who's in your area, just saying. And yeah, so he created number 2 over there, well, both of them and the entire group created this Youth Success Week. The students got involved and created an entire festival for a week where students gave their own TED Talks and things like that. And got to speak, connects with the business community. Everybody's talking the same language for a week. And so it started in Oceanside, California. They've been meeting like every month, and then this happened. And then the second one, which we just did a segment on, was it, I think, Brookwood, Illinois, if I'm getting the name right, Brookwood?
I think so.
This Brookwood School District. And that was the second one. So it's a nationwide model that they're working on. So I'll keep you posted on that.
What do they say? What does Whitney Houston say? Teach them well and let them lead the way. I feel hopeful hearing that.
Yeah. We got to do everything we can. There's a saying of, hey, hey, you behave yourself and, watch where you step. But you know what? The child turns to the father and the parents and says, I'm walking in your footsteps. You walk where you step.
Yes.
That's exactly it.
Yep.
That's exactly it. And whether or not you're a parent, we got to think about that for the youth. Mm-hmm. Everything we do affects them, and we need to take care of it. And the environment, just saying. Okay, so everybody, House of Belonging, go get it now. Go to author-andrea-thome.com. Thome. I want to say Thome. I've always wanted to say that because it's like there's a Brazilian side of that name.
It sounds fancier, yeah.
No, Thome, I'm sorry. AndreaThome.com, go there. And again, House of Belonging. And don't forget, Big Blend Radio airs Friday. It goes really Sunday through Friday. You can go to BigBlendRadio.com to see what's coming up. and you can listen as shows go live or anytime thereafter. And again, thank you to IFTWA, the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association, for sponsoring today's segment. Thank you, Andrea, for joining us. It's been such an awesome conversation.
Lisa and Nancy, thank you both so much. And I got to go. I got to hug a tree.
That's right. Awesome. Here it is.
Go.
And here it is. Here's your song. We got to play it now. Okay, so here it is. Everybody enjoy. We had to meet. Take care.
To meet sometime. The power of life, the power of death, and we had to meet sometime. Forces of steel in a magnetic field, and we had to meet sometime. Take me down with you. Lay me in your field. Lay your hands on my soul. Lay your hands on my soul. Sea kiss land, and rocks turn to sand, and we had to meet sometime. Fire kissed rain, it hissed in the flame, and we had to meet sometime. It was right on the vine by pure design, and we had to meet sometime. Take me down with you. Lay me in your field. Lay your hands on my soul. Lay your hands on my soul. Chords chime in dreams of the mind, and we had to meet sometime. Words on a page, so perfectly phrased, and we had to meet sometime. History was made when our song was played, and we had to meet sometime.